to my channel, and if you're new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a big thumbs up. I would really much appreciate it. And also follow me on Instagram, which is always linked down below and at the end of the video. So today's video is going to be all about being a psych major and if it's worth it, kind of like what I've experienced being a psych major. So if you guys don't know, I am a junior in college pursuing a major in psychology and a minor in philosophy, and I love them both. But I definitely did want to talk about, because I know there's been a lot of speculation if like getting a psychology degree is worth it. Is it gonna make you money in the future? Like what kind of jobs can you get with the psychology degree and all of this stuff, which I'm still figuring out the answers to all of those questions. But basically in this video I'm just going to talk about my experience being a psych major and if I think it's worth it, kind of like what it all entails. So yeah, let's get on right into it. The number one thing about being a psychology major, as I've noticed, is basically it feels like there's only one route to being a psychology major, and it's boom, like you get a degree in psychology and you become a psychologist. And unfortunately it is not that simple. So kind of like going in to getting my degree, I thought I wanted to be like a psychologist, therapist, whatever, but in order to become one, you either need to get a master's degree, or you need to get licensed, or if you want to make like the average amount of money, then you need both a master's degree and a licensure, depending on which route you want to go to. So there is a field of psychology called industrial organizational psychology, which is very businessy, data driven, basically studying like how do people work well together in the workforce, in businesses. There's like so many different aspects of it, and it's a lot of research and heavy research. And that typically is the field of psychology that makes the most money. So that's not really being a therapist, that's more so doing research related to the workforce and that type of social construct. There is also, you can be a marriage and family therapist, which you get your LMFT, which is your marriage, which means you're a licensed family and marriage counselor. Also, you can be a clinical psychologist, which you do need a master's degree in order to become a clinical psychologist, where you can work in psychology clinics, hospitals, basically anywhere, and you can counsel people, do heavy therapy like cognitive behavioral therapy, all of that jazz. Basically it's more so like doing therapy in like a more clinical setting. There's also child psychologists that work with children, school psychologists, there's forensic psychologists, which is definitely something that I'm interested in, and that's going into the criminal justice and legal system, giving counsel, advocating for victims of crime, being a witness, working with police, working with patients who have experienced, working with people who've experienced trauma due to crime, creating assessments of criminals, working with juveniles, working with child custody lawyers, all of that jazz. So basically the field of psychology is huge, it's broad, it's not just as simple as I major in psychology, I become a psychologist. You have to like figure out which path you want to take, which is kind of difficult, I would admit, because I'm not so sure about like what I want to do with this field. At first I was like dead set, I'm gonna be a clinical psychologist, I'm gonna get my master's degree, I'm gonna get licensed, and that seems like a lot of work in order to get to the job that I would want, and I'm starting to see like if it's really worth spending all that money for school for how much money I'm actually going to be making as a psychologist. So in regards to like money in psychology, like earning money with a psychology degree, you can make money, but you'll probably make the money that you want is if you pursue a post-grad education. So obviously if you want to make the biggest bucks, you should pursue PhD in psychology or do a field like industrial organizational psychology. But if you genuinely want to help people, and if it's not really as much about the money for you, but you still want, like, you know, to earn like enough money to get you by, then being like a clinical counselor, you could also pursue social work. There's just a big variety of jobs, and that's why I would say being a psych major, since it is so broad, it is so important to get involved things outside of your major or your degree. For example, having an internship or volunteering. I am a sexual assault victims advocate volunteer at like sexual violence services where I live. So I advocate for victims of sexual assault, and that's like my volunteer thing that I put on my resume, and I completed like 40 hours of crisis counseling training, and also the job that I have right now is I'm like an office admin assistant at a psychology clinic. So yeah, so definitely don't just depend on your psychology major to, you know, get you a psychology job. Like, you have to try to like be different, and definitely try out some either volunteering or just like something that makes you stand out and gives you experience, because I would honestly say that experience is probably more important than your degree. Obviously, if you want to be a therapist, a counselor, there are laws and rules, and you need to like take a test and get licensed and all that. But I do have known people who didn't pursue a major in psychology, they majored in something else, and then they ended up becoming a psychologist and pursuing that post-grad. Or doing a lot of like internship, volunteer type of stuff, which helps gain you experience. So definitely I would say that being a psychology major, like at least like what I've been told is that, I mean, I'm obviously haven't graduated yet, so I can't really speak from experience, but from other people I've heard that you don't start like a real job in psychology until you get your master's or you get licensed, or both. You can definitely do counseling. You could probably become like a case manager or like intern, do that sort of thing, but to be an actual psychologist you need to be licensed or have a post-grad degree, which is, I didn't like know that entirely coming in, so just know that if that's what you want to be as a psychologist, just know that in order to probably get the job that you're looking for, you will need to obtain at least a master's degree or get licensed. So like, I know at least at my job that there are therapists who have a master's degree but haven't gotten licensed yet, and they're still allowed to administer services to people, but they're usually under supervision, and certain insurances don't allow certain people to see a therapist who's not licensed, but a lot of them do. It's just, you have to like think about it that way. So ideally it's best if you have a master's degree and also if you're licensed. That way you can like have more opportunities and different things like that, if that makes sense. Also, you can be a school counselor. don't believe you need a master's degree to be a school counselor. I'm not like 100% sure. I mean, it's probably like better if you do. But there are jobs where you in psychology that you don't need to do post-grad, but I feel like it's more harder and competitive, and employers are seeking that master's degree. So that is kind of like my thoughts on that. I do enjoy being a psychology major. I've learned incredible, amazing things about everything, and it is just so awesome, but it's also really broad. So you're like, okay, I'm interested in psychology. This is what I want to study in college. But then you have to figure out what you want to do with it, because it is so broad. It's not just being a therapist or psychologist. There's so many different areas. Like, you can work with kids, you can do research. There's just a ton of stuff that you can do in psychology. So definitely be aware of that if you choose to major in psychology. I think that if you're interested in it, go for it. Like, it is a rewarding major, or it has been so far for me. It's helped me in a lot of areas in my life. It's helped me better communicate with people, and I think like studying people is so interesting, and studying the brain and like how feelings work and all that is so interesting, and you learn so much about yourself, and I definitely think it is a worthwhile major. But just be aware that if you are specifically looking to be a psychologist, then you should consider grad school and all that. And I know it's like with other things, like if you want to be a doctor, you go to med school. If you want to be a lawyer, you go to law school. So a lot of like areas kind of like require you to do like post-grad education. That's kind of like what I've learned to being a psych major. I've been told by like some professors that some places exploit psychologists and don't pay them as much as they should, so you should err on the side of caution when like looking for a job in psychology, to make sure that you're getting paid for, or that you're getting paid the amount as like average psychologist in your state or wherever make. So just a lot of things to keep in mind. I would say go for it, pursue a degree in psychology. It's awesome, it's amazing, and people say that it's like an easy major, but it's really not. It's not. Try taking cognitive neuroscience, behavior genetics, all of that lovely work and research methods class, and you will know that psychology is not an easy major. It is very interesting, so insightful, but it is hard. It's a lot of work. So us psych majors, no, we're not on that like easy route. We do a lot of stuff. So definitely keep that in mind. If you're looking for an easy breezy major, psychology is definitely not the right choice, because it is hard. But also, with that being said, it is so worth it. It's kind of like my perspective on being a psych major. If you guys have any specific questions on being a psych major, definitely leave a comment down below. I will definitely respond. I love talking about this type of stuff, and I know if like you're looking to see what you want to do, it can be overwhelming and hard. So if you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments below. And thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for all your love and support, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye guys.